What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Draft Geeks podcast. Pretty dang close to the end of the college football regular season, conference championships and stuff coming up, but we got one more positional stock watch. We'll go over running backs and interior defensive line. We'll talk about our top 10 in the college football playoff rankings, and then a couple other fun things at the end, so make sure you stay tuned because the Draft Geeks podcast starts right now.
Another Stock Watch episode in store for you guys today. I'm Max Showstack over at the Draft Geek here alongside Jace Campbell over at Pat's Drive. Running backs and interior defensive linemen are where we're going to focus today. Jace, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm excited for this one. If you guys didn't watch our last positional stock watch, I did a defensive position linebackers. Max did receivers on offense. So we're going to flip-flop it. I'm going to talk about an offensive position, which will be the running backs, and Max will go to the interior defensive line on the defensive side. So another, it'll be 7 to 8 guys that we'll get to talk about within these two positions. And then we'll get into some top 10 college football talk, and then a couple other fun little segments towards the end, Heisman Trophy and things like that. But I'm excited. I'm sad because every week that goes by, it's just less and less college football. It goes fast every year. It's just crazy. It's almost to conference championship season and bowl season, all that. It just flies by.
It's bittersweet when the college football playoff committee rankings start coming out. That's when you know we're getting close. And it's great to be done with the AP poll and all that stuff. But on those Tuesdays when you start getting those rankings, you're like, oh my gosh. We got 3 weeks left. We're recording this. It's SEC Cupcake Week on Saturday. It's already that time. But that means draft season's starting to heat up. And we've got 8 guys that we'll cover for you today. And then a little top 10, little college football playoff preview, some Heisman stuff as that wraps up, which hasn't been the best year, but we'll get into that later. Jace, I'll let you kick us off over in the backfield, in the offensive backfield.
Yeah, and this is a fun group. I mean, we obviously last year's running back class had 2 great guys that went in the first round, and then a couple other ones. This year is highlighted by Jeremiah Love, which I'm sure a lot of you have known about. We could talk about him for a while, but what's the point of a stock watch episode? Because his stock is up, but it's been up for a year and a half. I'm going to go to a guy that honestly probably gets overthought because of Jeremiah Love, and that's his teammate, Jadarian Price, who is actually my biggest riser. There you go. You have it at the bottom if you're on YouTube. Again, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, you can flip over to YouTube to see all the graphics and stuff. But wherever you are, make sure you give it a like, subscribe, follow, whatever you can to support the channel. But Jadarian Price out of Notre Dame, 5'11", 210 pounds. He's got 103 attempts on the season, 589 yards and 9 touchdowns. That's good for 5.7 yards per carry. This is a guy that, as I watch more and more of, right? Obviously, you're watching Notre Dame to watch Jeremiah Love. But as you watch him and you see Jadarian Price come in and kind of spell him, the one thing I wrote down that I love, or no pun intended, sorry, he's the lightning to Jeremiah Love's thunder. He is the lightning in the bottle player on that offense. He can make so many things happen. He's great vision. He has really contact balance too. He falls forward on contact. He's the hitter. Think of last the elite speed. He's on in my so around the backfield has done a couple of good things there. And the only concerns I have about him, and it's not even concerns, but it's just like, can he handle a full workload in the NFL? Because he's never going to do that at Notre Dame unless he stays for next year, which we'll see what happens there. I think his stock is soaring up enough that he probably should take the chance in the NFL draft. He's probably looking at a day 2 pick right now. He might be, I don't know where you have him. If I were to re-rank my running backs, which I haven't done since summer scouting, he'd probably be in my top 4, maybe my top 3. Wow. He's not going to pass Jonah Coleman and he's not going to pass Jeremiah Love. But I would be interested to see where he actually ended up on my list, whether it was running back 3 or running back 4, but really like what I've been seeing from him. The only question is he did have a torn Achilles a couple years ago coming off that. So there's another thing is, hey, can he hold up? But Jadarian Price out of Notre Dame has been fun to watch. Kind of come up and sneak up on some guys, because it was supposed to be the Jeremiah Love show, and not that it's not, it still is, but now it's the Jeremiah Love, Jadarian Price show, and Notre Dame has another chance to make a deep run in the college football playoff because of these two guys in the backfield.
He's been an electric kick returner too, averaging 5.7 yards a carry. So, when you get Jeremiah Love off the field, opposing defenses are like, oh, let's go. No, Price is going to get 6 yards on you. He's got 9 touchdowns this year. So this guy's been incredibly productive. I want to see him do more as a receiver, but that's obviously tough when Notre Dame's preferred check down option is going to be Jeremiah Love, who is a first round lock. So Jadarian Price, I agree with you, has been a huge riser this year. Very excited to see where he goes this spring.
It will be interesting. You think he probably declares, right?
I think he can, because you mentioned injury history. Does he want to capitalize on this opportunity right now? It's a weaker running back class. A lot of the guys that were running backs 2 through 7, 8 have slid. Some of them profile as guys that are going to return to school. So Price can capitalize on that. He can also say, look, I want 1 year with the backfield as my own. So he'll have a choice. Notre Dame's not going anywhere. CJ Carr is still going to be their quarterback next year. Marcus Freeman's going to be their head coach. They're still a national title contender. It'll be a draft declaration to watch, but I think Jadarian Price has picked up enough steam for Notre Dame to be this year's Ohio State backfield, with Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins sending 2 guys to the draft, Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price this year. Perhaps not the same caliber of those 2 guys. Love is going to be a better prospect than both of them. Price, perhaps a tick below Henderson and Judkins. But I personally right now think Price can capitalize on a weaker class and should declare. But NIL, he could make almost $2 million and stay.
And that's what I was going to say, is it's hard because when you look at Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson, you didn't really question, can they catch the ball either? They were both really good out of the backfield. Yeah. That's what Jadarian Price has to prove, even though I've seen some flashes of it, think he's a decent enough route runner. He just hasn't, like you said, he has Jeremiah Love. So he could answer a lot of those question marks by coming back another year and being on another really good Notre Dame team. We don't expect them to fall off. Could be the number 1 guy and potentially be a early second, maybe a late first, depending on what the class, ends up playing out last year. Right now, like I said, I'd probably be looking at him in the 3rd round, a day 2 pick, 3rd round. Think that he has the speed that some NFL teams going to want, and would take a chance on. So I'm interested to see. It's probably 50-50 for me. I don't think he's leaning. I mean, I don't have a beat on whether he's staying one thing or another, because there's pros and cons for both. There's pros and cons for both. Some guys you can say, hey, he's probably 70-30 going to the draft or whatever, but he really has an argument for either way because he is behind Jeremiah Love. It's not like he has been the number 1 guy. He's proven everything he needs to. He could legitimately be a 14, 15, 1,600 yard rusher next year if he's the only guy in this backfield and have all that. So it would be fun to watch. But moving on, my next guy is from a group of 5 school, and that's Lucky Sutton, the San Diego State running back. Now, San Diego State, let me just say, they have a chance to get to 10 wins. I don't know if they will. They're at 8-2 right now. They have a chance to get to 10 wins. That's actually kind of a shock after where they've been and kind of the expectations, but this is a good team. They have a great corner that's probably going to end up being a 1st or 2nd round pick. But Lucky Sutton's a bigger back. I love him because he's a bruising back. 6'1", 210 pounds. He runs so hard. He runs with his shoulder pads in front. That's the first thing. He always is falling forward. He has 197 attempts on the year, over 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. He has the 10th most yards after contact, which is 695. He can carry a big workload, right? I'm not worried about whether he can do it or not. He's done it for a couple years. This is a guy that will be probably a 3rd down goal line back, which is why I'm not going to put him in a day 2 discussion. He's going to be more role specific, but if you wanted to use him on 3 downs, you could, just because of how big and strong and physical he is. He has minimal receiving ability, so if you're using him on 3rd downs, you're going to have to get a lot more pass production out of him, but you're probably going to have to keep him in pass pro. And then his speed and elusiveness is not there enough to put him into, a top 5 running back category, like some of these other guys will, just because of how wiggly they are and how many missed tackles they can force. But Lucky Sutton's an interesting guy to watch just because of how big, physical, strong he looks, powerful running the ball, runs through arm tackles, is hard to take down, and has been pretty dang good for a surprising San Diego State team this year.
I haven't seen a lick of Lucky Sutton this year, so I appreciate you bringing him to the table. I do see, though, the 4 best teams they've played in the Mountain West, and 2 of those are non-con. Washington State, Cal, and then Fresno State and Boise State went for over 5 yards a pop in all 4 of those games. So in the moments where he's been given the opportunity to shine against better competition, he's done it. Love that he's found the end zone 8 times on the ground this year and 0 career fumbles.
Yep.
Absolutely love that.
Yeah, if you guys haven't, I mean, I know it's hard because there's so many good games, especially at this point in the year. There's so many good games in the Power 4 level that like you don't want to turn away from. San Diego State sometimes plays at 8 o'clock Pacific time. So for you East Coasters, that's going to be like 10 or 11, depending on if it's Pacific time or Mountain time, because I'm an hour off of Pacific time. So like 8 o'clock kickoff for them is really 9 for me. And then that's 11 for you East Coasters. And that's why West Coast is the best place to watch
bedtime.
sport, but that is bedtime for some of you guys. Pac-12 after dark, they thought they could kill it, but they can't. It still happens sometimes. But if you guys happen to stay up late, you see San Diego State on, you might want to get an eye on him just because of how much of a strong, back. There's a role for him in the NFL. There's always a role for this type of guy. Probably not a true number 1 running back that's going to be able to, be super explosive and take things to the house left and right. A Jahmyr Gibbs kind of guy like that, but he's going to have a role in some sort of offense, which is why they'll like him. So next guy, and then I have a underclassman that we just have to talk about. My next guy is Hollywood Smothers from NC State. 5'11", 195 pounds. This is a guy that has 127 attempts on the year, 823 yards, 6 touchdowns. He has the 7th best yards per carry, which is 6.5. He has 4.2 yards after contact per attempt, and he has the 25th most missed tackles forced, which is 37. This is another guy that's really explosive in space. Great pass catching ability. He was actually put on the Paul, what is it, Horning? I don't even
Hornug.
Hornug?
Yeah.
Jeez. We got some weird, I'm bad at spelling. Pronunciation's probably the second thing I'm bad at too. But anyways, he was put on that watch list for 2025, which is actually the award for the most versatile player in college football. So that will be interesting to see there. He bounces off tacklers. Another guy, not the biggest in stature at under 6 feet and under 200 pounds, but he's a run harder, plays behind his pads also. He had injuries in 2024 where he missed, I believe it was 2 games. And with that smaller stature, not the best in pass pro, but another guy that's putting up good numbers in the ACC for NC State. Probably has a chance to come back. I believe he has one more year.
I think he may have 2 more years if he wants it.
So he's probably a redshirt sophomore or something, but he has a chance to come back, which I don't think would be the end of the world for him. Like he can easily declare he's had a good enough season, but he's another one of those guys. Has he done enough to put him in that top 5 running back category, even if it is a younger or a weaker class? Not quite sure yet. And so we'll have to see where he ends up on that list, pre or after the season, once we get into summer scouting and stuff. But another guy to keep your eyes on for a fun offense in NC State.
Yeah, Hollywood Smothers is on the all-name team for sure. And somebody that could be a top 5 back in this class. He does a lot in the receiving game, which certainly helps him. For me, I lean back to school just because he got Hollywood smothered against Notre Dame and Miami, 2 of the best defenses that he's going to see. He went for 19 total carries for 44 yards in those 2 games combined. So he's got a chance to come back, be a little bit more productive across the entire schedule and not just pound Campbell for 30.8 yards per carry. That's a real stat, but unfortunately only on 4 carries. So really like this guy. Love the dual threat ability that he offers in the pass game. Think he can go back to school and really kind of complete the workload, complete his profile. But if he is to declare, he's going to be one of the top options as a dual back in this class.
Yeah, and then the last guy, like I mentioned, he can't declare this year. There's no doubt about it. If he would, he'd probably be running back too, right? Wouldn't you agree?
Undoubtedly.
Behind Jeremiah Love. I'm sure you've heard about him. If you haven't, you probably saw his stats at some point.
If you're from Starkville, Mississippi, you've heard of him.
It's Ahmad Hardy from Missouri. 5'10", 206 pounds. He is a ULM transfer last year. As a true freshman last season, he had over 1,300 yards and 13 touchdowns. This year already for Missouri, he's at 1,345 yards, 15 touchdowns. He has the third most yards per attempt at 6.8, the third most missed tackles forced at 71, the second most runs of 10-plus yards with 36, the first most yards after contact at 932, and drum roll, please, 7 of his 9 games went for over 100 yards, 2 of those being over 200. And last week he went for 298, if I'm not mistaken. That's what it was, right? 298.
298 on PFF. But if you go on ESPN, they gave him 300.
Did they really?
Yes.
That's hilarious. So he's a guy that's just been insanely good this year. When you watch him, you have the wow factor. He gives you the wow factor, and not quite the wow factor of the crazy good season we saw last year from Ashton Genty, but you turn it on and he's always doing something that you're just like, whoa, like this guy is elite. His contact balance is great. He's elusive and powerful. Great blend of both. He's had 2 years of being the guy as a freshman and a sophomore, like as a true freshman and a sophomore. And he made the jump from ULM to Missouri, and he's still making waves at the SEC level. I wish he had more volume in the passing game. I think that's the only thing that teams, it's absolutely non-existent. I think that's the thing that he's going to work on next year. And the other thing is he lost 3 fumbles last year, and he has 3 fumbles this year. So has to hold on to the ball better. But a young running back that is just putting up numbers in the best conference in college football, and he's still only a sophomore. We get to watch him again next year and probably be talking about him in summer scouting next year for when he can declare.
He's untackleable. This guy's untackleable in the open field. Ahmad Hardy is a terrorist to opposing defenses. I really like his game. I do think I'm just slightly concerned at the scheme Missouri runs, is it's very, very outside zone heavy, to the point where it's that less common outside zone that you don't really see it much on Sundays. It's a lot of sweeps, a lot of pulling guards, pulling centers, pulling tackles, everybody outside. So Ahmad Hardy does capitalize off of that a lot. But this guy's contact balance, his power, his ability to just burst down the sideline, get extra yards when they're in front of him. He's going to be a special player. And I'm glad he's got an offseason to refine the fumbling, refine the receiving game. And maybe Missouri, mixes up the offensive run scheme a little bit. But hey, they don't have to. It's working. The only concerns, and we get another year, is like there's just a couple games. It's like Alabama, and this is stickler stuff because this is 4.3 yards a carry in this game. But like Alabama, maybe the best defense they saw all year, 12 for 52 and a fumble. And then Auburn, weirdly, 24 for 58. And yes, he scored twice, but that's 2.4 yards a carry. So just maybe a more complete volume, but that's splitting hairs. This guy is in the driver's seat to be RB1 next year, unless I'm missing somebody crazy. But Ahmad Hardy's the real deal. You have to go into next year knowing this guy's name.
Yeah, I mean, he will put up numbers. He'll have 3 straight years unless an injury happens, knock on wood, right? Unless an injury happens, he'll have 3 straight years of 1,300 plus yards. I firmly believe that because he'll probably have it again next year. He'll have the track record. He'll be still a young, like, if you were to go look up his actual age, does it say like what's his actual age? Because if he was a true freshman last year, he's probably maybe still 18, possibly early 19. So he's going to declare, he's 19 years old. He was born on December 19th, 2005. So
he's
next year,
be 20.
So he's going to be 20. So he'll be entering the draft at 21. Like, that's going to be absolutely insane. So he's going to have a lot of.
You enter contract negotiations in his 3rd year when he's 24, turning 25. It's beautiful stuff if this guy keeps it rolling.
I mean, he'll be a first-round back if he keeps it up. I have no doubt about that. Be the first running back taken, like he said. So, but that's everyone that I had on the running back side. I mean, it's hard to do stock ups for like Jonah Coleman because we were both high on him, and he's had a great season. Jeremiah Love, obviously, we don't want to talk about there because his season is been incredible too. And we'll have plenty of time to talk about both of those guys in our actual running back episode that we'll do, sometime January or February once we have the season in and stuff. But those were 4 guys I had eyes on that I wanted to get there that weren't. I think the only one, none of them were in my summer scouting. I did have Hollywood Smothers on my list, but he didn't make our top 8 that we did. So guys that didn't make the top 8, but are guys that probably are pushing for a top 8 spot with the weaker running back class in their play. And we'll see where they end up in the running back category when we get into the draft process.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out too, with rookie running backs scattered across the league. Maybe it's a good thing that this year's running back class isn't also crazy, because I think over 20 got drafted last year, which is just crazy numbers. So good time for a down year, especially if you're a guy like Jadarian Price who can capitalize on it. We'll go from the guys that run the ball to the guys that stop the run. On the interior defensive line, we'll get it started with a guy from Ohio State, Caden McDonald, who has been absolutely fantastic this year. He's done a great job stepping into the Tyleik Williams role for the Buckeyes. Caden McDonald's been an incredible run stopper. He's got 22 defensive stops this year on 133 run defense snaps. We're going to put that into comparison just really quick with a guy that we'll talk about in a second. That's Peter Woods, who's got 20 defensive stops on 184 run defense snaps. So he's been more of a more productive run defender than Peter Woods, who is the pace car in this interior defensive line class. This guy's grading out exceptionally well, 91.4 run defense grade, 6'3", 330 pounds. He's got an NFL build, and he's been an absolute clog against the run game. I think Caden McDonald profiles kind of very similarly to where Tyleik Williams did, is kind of that slam dunk round 2 nose tackle guy who could sneak into round 1 like Tyleik kind of shockingly did at the 29th slot to the Lions last year. So really like Caden McDonald. He's shown the ability to go from a rotational interior guy to an absolute force as a nose tackle or defensive tackle for the Buckeyes this year. So that's my biggest riser, and somebody that I think really could cement themselves as a top 3 player at this position in this class.
Yeah, I mean, his run defense grade is just off the charts. It's the second best in the country amongst interior defensive linemen. And he is so stout. Like, watching him take on double teams, it's almost harder for the 2 guys to move him than it is for him to hold up against the 2 guys. Like, he is ox strong, as some people would say, so hard to move him. I agree with you. People were like, man, you lose a first round interior defensive lineman, Tyleik Williams, you lose Jack Sawyer on the defensive front, JTT. Yeah. And now you're like, oh, okay, well, Caden McDonald's playing great this year, and they have a chance to win another national championship. And I think that what Matt Patricia has done with not only that whole Ohio State defense, but their ability to stop the run has been so well, and they scheme it really well. And Caden McDonald's a huge part of that. And every NFL team, no matter who they have, no matter who is already in their system, they can use a run stuffer like Caden McDonald. It's so hard. There's too many good people, too many good running backs, like you just mentioned, with the rookies coming in. There's too many good running backs. There's too many teams that want to establish the run. There's always a need for a run stuffer like him. And so he'll have a very important role here for some team. And like you said, taking him in the mid to late 20s to a contender is really scary for whoever that
not
team
a bad
is
idea.
Him. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea to beef up the interior defensive line on one of those teams that lost in the divisional or the conference championship round.
Exactly. In lockstep with you there. You're not getting too much pass rush production, more than pocket pushing from him, but I think that's okay when you're talking about late first, but what I would think is early to mid second. Somebody that's going to be early first, or at the worst, mid to late first, is Peter Woods, the interior defensive lineman from Clemson, who's 20 years old, going to turn 21 a month before the NFL draft. So a very young prospect who profiles as a top 5 to 10 player in this group. He's 6'3", 310 pounds. So he's a little lighter than Caden McDonald and a lot more athletic laterally. Somebody that you can line up at the nose or as far out as over the tackle as a defensive end. Peter Woods is a super talented guy. He's compiled 13 pressures this year, 20 in the previous 2 years that he played. He's a good pass rusher. He's also an excellent run defender. big fan of Peter Woods, and Clemson's taken a step back this year, but this guy just continues to ruin plays. They've just started to run plays away from him, unfortunately, this year. But really a big fan of Peter Woods. Would flag the tackling has kind of been a little bit of a rough spot for him throughout his career. He's got a 16.3 missed tackle percentage. But I do think, truthfully, this is a guy that puts himself in position to make a lot of tough tackles where he jumps through the line of scrimmage and there's a running back right there. And maybe they run through an arm tackle and he misses a tackle and they run right into the defensive end and he brings them down. So Peter Woods, kind of a game wrecker type of guy, stylistically would compare him to what Quinnen Williams is able to do on the field. Not a direct pro comp. I'm not telling you he's Quinnen Williams, but if you picture Quinnen Williams's game, I think that's what Peter Woods can be. Maybe flip the run defense for the pass rushing ability just a little bit. Maybe Woods is a little bit of a better run defender than a pass rusher, but absolutely love this guy. And I think somebody in the 5 to 7 or 5 to 10 range is going to get a stud.
Yeah, and one thing that I like about him is if you just go look at his last couple years, he's played everywhere amongst the defensive line.
Yeah.
He's played over, so I'm just going to read this year alone. He played over 287 snaps at the left tackle. He's played over 102 snaps at the right D tackle. Then he's played a couple on the defensive end. He's played a couple at nose tackle. He's played a couple on the right side of the line. Now, he can move around. Where's his home going to be? At the worst, he's a positional guy that can, move and play in a 3-4 or a 4-3. He can stick into the interior. He can play outside because he is twitchy. He has that position versatility. But like you mentioned, he's really good at both like size and athleticism if he needs to be a D end or if he needs to be really stout inside. He has big, strong, violent hands. He sheds blocks very well. I read something, I forget where it was. It might have just been on Instagram about Peter Woods, and someone commented down below, and it was like, this dude has unhinged aggression. Like, he is super hyper aggressive. He just looks like he's out there trying to kill someone, which you like from an interior defense lineman. You have to be mean and
that's
nasty.
in the job description.
It has to be like and there's a different level of like aggression, right? You can name off guys that are aggressive because it's a D line, but then you can talk about mean, nasty, physical players, and I think that's the one that he fits into wherever he ends up, whether it's inside or on the edge and stuff. I would probably move him inside, like that's why we have him on this interior D line. But I think that will be kind of the conversation is who drafts him and what do they have in store for him? Where's the best position for him? But Peter Woods, man, he's fun. He's probably going to be he's for sure probably a top 10 pick in my opinion.
Yeah, I think just the thing I would rule out is, he's not going to be an edge rusher. That's kind of a college thing, in my opinion. But I don't think he's going to be a nose tackle. I think he's played predominantly as a B gap defender. I think it stays that way for him.
I could see him. Let me ask you this now, as a Patriots fan, this one resonates with me a little bit more. Milton Williams, Christian Barmore type player.
Yeah.
Like great run stopper, but also is probably a little bit known more for his pass. And there's guys like that all throughout the league, right? Like it seems like
Quinnen
there's
Williams
more
kind of the top end, right?
Yeah. And there's more and more in the league than what there used to be that are just like elite pass rushers too. Like, them more for their pass rushing ability. That seems to be more of a interior defensive line trait the last 2 or 3 years. Teams are really wanting that to
Those
be able to push the
can,
pocket and stuff.
Yeah, the guys that can push the pocket, first down, second down, third down, they'll bust out a swim move and get a sack. And I do think that's what Woods can be. We'll change gears a little bit to somebody that's a lot less like that. Christian Miller from Georgia. I think this guy's so good away from the football. This guy's so good at taking on double teams, holding the point of attack, forcing the play to go in another direction, pushing the line of scrimmage into the offensive backfield. And that's kind of why I think he's probably maybe not a first rounder, but I do think this is an early second round type of player. He's got a great run defense grade. He makes defensive stops all over the field. 86.7 run defense grade on PFF. And that's kind of been consistent with him in the last 2 years. He's a very, very talented football player, and he's got a 10.6 pass rush win rate this year. So perhaps peaking at the right time as more than a pocket pusher, because I do think if he can put that together, he's going to be the number 2 interior defensive lineman in this class. and there's room for a second one or three to sneak into the first round. So Christian Miller, somebody that I definitely think has a high floor as a run defender. And then if he continues to put it together as a pass rusher, because this is somebody, remember, Georgia, that hasn't had a ton of experience. He's already about to eclipse his snap count from last year. So I think his best ball's still ahead of him. I really like Christian Miller, what he's been able to do this year. And sometimes you can kind of not see him on the field. He can disappear a little bit, but I do think that's because the offensive line focuses so much attention towards him, and he's so good at forcing plays to go away from him.
It's really easy to miss good Georgia players because everyone on that team looks like aliens and they're freakish athletes. And they're probably going to be a first or second round draft pick at some point. That defense just every year has guys. But no, Christian Miller, I totally agree with you. At 305 pounds as an interior defensive lineman, like similar to what we talked about with McDonald, totally different player than what we were just comparing
Peter
Woods to, right? Like this guy will be an A-gap nose tackle type of guy. You're not going to probably want to have him in a 3-tech and straight up pass rushing on a guard very often because not good for success. Now, can he push the pocket? 1,000%. He has a really good first step, big, heavy hands, can play a bunch of different techniques on the line to stop the run. But again, another run stopper that any NFL team would want to have, whether it's in the second or third round, a guy that can come in and have a very solid role and stop the run there. Now, the one thing there, like you mentioned, is pass rush consistency. Just is he going to be a first and second down guy? But if you're taking him in the second or third round and you already have an interior D lineman or a great outside pass rusher, you're not really worried about that, right? Like you're just not thinking about that weakness. You're really just putting him in to stop the run, push the pocket, force him to the good outside linebacker or the good edge rusher that will be coming off the edge and stuff like right there. But you'll get to see a lot more of Christian Miller against probably some of the top interior offensive linemen too, as he goes through the SEC championship, which they'll probably make, and then the college football playoff.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. We'll get to see him put some great tape out there against really good teams and hopefully continue his ascension because I think he's a very fun player. Last guy I'm going to touch on is Zane Durant out of Penn State. Changing gears a little bit from a lot of the positive sentiment we've been talking through with the previous three guys. Zane Durant, somebody that in the preseason kind of watched a little bit and you're like, okay, it's not all there, but he's got the wow plays and his best 15 to 20 plays are really incredible. He's an undersized guy, under 6'2", under 300 pounds. So he's got to make his mark with his athleticism, and he is an absolute freak athlete. My issues with Zane Durant are just kind of like, what's your role? Because I think he gets blown off the line of scrimmage too often because he's undersized. I think he gets taken out of plays and kind of disappears rep over rep over rep, drive over drive at times. But then he makes an incredible play, absolutely disappears past the guard, ends up in the backfield and registers a pressure. This guy had 28 pressures last year. That's taken a dip this year without Abdul Carter on the team occupying so much attention across from Deni Dennis Sutton. Now it's a little more just the Deni Dennis Sutton show. The pressure numbers dropped to 19. Still a great number, 71 across 4 years, 10 sacks across 4 years. That's good stuff for an interior defensive lineman. I just question his role. I just got to watch him in person at the Penn State-Michigan State game in East Lansing and wasn't watching him particularly. Was more so focused on Deni Dennis Sutton and then saw Zane Durant absolutely pop and go wreck a play as a pass rusher. So I'm like, all right, let me focus in on 28 more. And then just nothing. Couple plays after plays, series after series, and then almost another pop play. I just think this guy's a little too inconsistent to have an every down role in the NFL. I do think that if he is able to hold his anchor a little bit better, maybe put on some more weight, but maintain that athleticism, he will be a highly coveted option as an interior defensive lineman on pass downs. And I do think there's a role for that. Zane Durant just came into this season needing to be a more complete player and hasn't done that. I didn't want to put him as a faller because he's kind of had the same evaluation as he did preseason. It's now a little more real because there's not a season to develop. that season has come and is 1 to 2 games away from being gone. So wanted to touch on Zane Durant, somebody that's exciting, certainly has a wow factor on tape, but I question what the role is. By the way, 7 pressures against Indiana, just to show that it's still there. This guy is a heck of a talent. It's just a matter of putting it all together and playing a complete game.
I have a guy in mind from last draft cycle that reminds me a lot of
Hit
Zane
me.
Durant. Can you think of a pass rusher specific type guy that
Omar Norman Lott.
Exactly. That's exactly who I liked Omar Norman a lot. And you said it. He was fun to watch
Wow
rush the
factor.
passer. Yes.
Yeah.
But what was he, a 4th or 5th round pick to the Chiefs, I believe? Is that where he went? The Chiefs?
I forget what round. I was just disgusted when the Chiefs took him.
Yeah, I want to say he was. So like this guy is going to have, like we talked about, there is now roles in the NFL for a 6'1" pass rushing defensive tackle. How twitchy
you got to be
are.
a freak athlete, but
Yes.
Omar Norman Lott and Zane Durant are freak athletes. I don't have the Feldman freak list numbers in front of me, but Zane Durant is an alien of an athlete.
I'll pull those up because, or you want pulled up while
you pull them up.
Yeah.
You keep talking.
Yeah. It just reminded me of Omar Norman a lot because he's really fun to watch. You're really excited to see him rush the passer. But again, yeah, he's going to be limited in the NFL. He's probably not going to not test. He's not going to measure well. His measurables are not going to end up looking good. Probably a little bit shorter arms. He's obviously going to be shorter in the lower percentile of height, things like that. But there's going to be a team that will take a chance on him like the Kansas City Chiefs did on Omar Norman Lott. There is going to be someone that will take a 4th or 5th round flyer on him and say, hey, if we can get 5 sacks out of an interior defensive line, that's our number 2 behind a Chris Jones type guy, they will take that in the 4th or 5th round every single draft. Teams will want that. It's the same thing with an interior defensive lineman that can stop the run. The teams will take a number 2 that can stop the run. They'll take a twitchy freak athlete interior pass rusher like Zane Durant. So really fun to watch him too. He makes a lot of really fun plays. And then there's a couple again that you're just like, ugh, is he even going to be able to stay on the field in the NFL? I'm not saying he can't, because like I said, there's going to be a team that will want him there, but that's why he's not going to be a top, probably a day 1 or 2 pick. He won't be. He'll be a 4th, 5th round pick, potentially a 6th round one, and we'll see how impactful he is at the NFL level. But nonetheless, fun player to watch and fun to at least think about what he could be in the NFL.
I'll rip through a couple numbers before we buzz through our college football coverage to wrap this show up. 3-time Feldman Freak List appearance. He was number 8 this past year. 6'1", 290 pounds, running a 4.66 40-yard dash, clocked at 21.1 miles an hour on the GPS, a 4.43 shuttle time, a 9-foot 10-inch broad jump, a 30.5-inch vertical, 425 pounds on the bench, and a Penn State Nittany Lion defensive line program record 660-pound squat.
Jeez.
And mixing in a 345-pound power clean. So Zane Durant's crazy. I could see a 3rd rounder, but it's a change from when you were like, if it clicks, he's a 1st rounder before the season.
Yeah.
So that's where we are. Wanted to cover Zane Durant and, of course, get to Peter Woods, Caden McDonald, and Christian Miller before we go through our college football playoff rankings run through. Jace, should we start at 10?
Yes, I think we should.
Go to 10 through 6, and then we'll pause. We'll highlight our most impressive teams. And I think they should be staggered nicely. If you know how to rank teams, mine will come in the 10 to 6. Yours will be in 5 to 1, hopefully, and we'll go from there. I'll kick us off 10 to 6, and then we'll pause, have conversations. I think the first 2 teams we read is the most interesting conversation. At number 10, I have Notre Dame. At number 9, I have Alabama. Number 8, I have Oklahoma. Number 7, I have Oregon. And I have Ole Miss at 6.
I flipped 9 and 10. I have Alabama at 10. I have Notre Dame at 9. I have Ole Miss at 8, Oklahoma 7, Oregon 6.
All right. So you have Ole Miss lower down there. And then you gave Notre Dame the nice relaxation they need to have a buffer between them and Miami that feels insurmountable.
I think Notre Dame's more of a complete team. I think the one thing that shocked
Yeah.
me about Alabama, and not that it shocked me, but they have
They can't
relied
run
on
the ball.
They've relied on Ty Simpson a lot, which is not a
They
bad
have.
plan. Ty Simpson is a really good quarterback, but I worry about getting in a college football playoff game against a lot better teams. And I worry about them, hey, potentially struggling because they can't run the football. And so I gave Notre Dame a little bit more of the nod. When I look at what translates in college, well, not in college football, but in the playoffs, especially if you're not at home, like if they're not playing in Tuscaloosa, they're going to have to be able to run the football. That is just how it's going to be. Imagine that they're
That's how
going
you
to,
take the crowd out of a game.
let's say they go to Notre Dame. Let's say they
Oregon,
go or
something
Oregon.
like that.
They go somewhere cold and they need to control clock and they can't throw the ball. They have to be able to run it, and I don't think they can. And so I gave Notre Dame the nod there. Ole Miss a little bit down on them. This might just be a thing. I think they're distracted because the Lane Kiffin drama. I will
I
see.
agree. Yeah.
We'll see when that gets in, and I think it's a little bit unfair to knock them because of that, but I don't think that they are a top 7. I can't rank them above Oklahoma and Oregon coming off of the win that Oklahoma just had and Oregon off of the season that they've had, only losing to a team that we'll talk about here in a minute. Can't put Ole Miss a little bit, or I can't put them up there because I do think that they're going to be a distracted team down the stretch.
I don't hate it from a little bit. I think you take a little more like the power ranking and eye test angle, and I think I got a little more resume baked into it where like I think Alabama blows Notre Dame out of the water on the resume, but I do think Notre Dame looks better right now. And then we'll cover Oklahoma really quickly. This is the team I have listed as my most impressive team, and I kind of consider them, what are they, 10-2, 9-2? The loss to Texas,
Yeah.
I really think is one of the biggest asterisks in college football. I don't know if that's the right word. They I almost counted as like a backup quarterback
Yeah.
in that game for them. They lost 23-6 to Texas in Red River. Not to take away anything from Texas. They went up against a fantastic defense of Oklahoma. They scored 23 points. That's a great showing. But Oklahoma was not themselves. They've bounced back in a big way, lost to my number 6 team, Ole Miss. That's their only other loss. And the win against Alabama is huge. They're practically cemented as a CFP team unless they blow things here against, I think, Missouri and LSU. I hate the SEC fabricated rivalries. Oklahoma and LSU are not rivals. They don't hate each other.
No.
All right, 5-1. I'll go first, and then I will turn it to you to cover your most impressive team. I think we should have it pretty similarly. I have Texas Tech at number 5, Georgia at number 4, A&M at 3. Let's not talk about it. Indiana at 2, and Ohio State at number 1.
I have the exact same. So it's going to be a really boring top 5. Now I'll talk about Texas Tech because that is my most impressive team. What they've done the last 2 weeks in the Big 12 is impressive. You see, I'm wearing a BYU hat. I'm from Utah. I'm a West Coast guy. That defense is incredible. BYU has a really good defense, a little bit of a struggling offense. Texas Tech is on a different level. That defense is insane. Jacob Rodriguez, you could have talked about him in the interior defensive line, and Skylar Gill Howard. They got 2 incredible edge rushers. This defense is nuts. It's absolutely insane. And so they have been so impressive to me. I can't put them above Georgia. Georgia is a better team than them, in my opinion, and they're probably going to win the SEC. It'll be interesting to see. I think Texas A&M, I know a lot of people have put Texas A&M at 4 and Georgia at 3. I think Texas A&M, what they did in the second half, I'm sorry, I know you're a South Carolina fan. What they did in the second half was almost just as impressive as how bad they played in the first.
It took 1 quarter.
Yeah. And they deserve to be down 30-3 at halftime because they had so many drops, but they also, it's not like South Carolina was killing them. They had every opportunity to make it a 20-17 game at halftime. They just literally did every single thing wrong. And then Mike Elko went in and gave them probably the pep talk of the century or whatever. I don't know what it was. And like you said, it took probably 2 drives for everyone to realize, oh yeah, Texas A&M's winning this game. Because you texted me, I think 2 drives into the third quarter, and we're like, we're gonna lose this. Like, you knew.
Took lots of years off my life. We'll be okay, I think. The one thing I'll say, I don't know, and this is kind of new to me. I kind of assumed Georgia was an SEC championship lock because they beat Alabama and Ole Miss. I think when they entered the 3-way tiebreaker in the SEC, the head-to-head is not the top tiebreaker. It's like common conference opponent. So I don't know. I think Georgia may need Auburn to beat Alabama in the final week of the season in order to clinch the SEC championship. So there might be some interesting wrinkles thrown in there. If Alabama somehow wins the SEC championship, they can hang around, stay in. But while you look that up, because I might have just spread fabricated information, but I think it's true. We'll cover. So we have our top 10s, and conveniently that fills out 5/6 of our field. And then we have to go to our ACC champion and our current top group of 5. I say ACC champion because Miami's my top ranked ACC team, but they're not winning the ACC title game. They've lost 2 conference games, and Georgia Tech, Virginia, SMU, and I think one other team have less conference losses. Georgia Tech, would be Pittsburgh. There you go. Georgia Tech would be my current projected ACC champion, an 11 seed. And then off eye test, I do like North Texas the best out of the G5. But I will say I do think Tulane has the most complete resume of those teams, with wins over Northwestern and Duke and a loss to Ole Miss, which I don't really count because that's props to them for scheduling the game, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia Tech's probably going to win the ACC. They could beat Georgia. I mean, I'm not ruling it out. They almost beat them last year, I believe. It was really close, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
It was an
overtime
7
game.
overtimes.
Yeah. So they could beat them. But they end with Pitt, who will be a really good game. It's a 5-1 team versus 6-1 team in the ACC. So that's going to be a great game at Georgia Tech. And then Georgia goes to Georgia Tech also. So they do have the last 2 games at home. Virginia is the other team that has a chance. They're going to end up with just Virginia Tech, which should probably be a win.
They made the Georgia Tech-Georgia game a neutral site game, by the way, which sucks.
They did?
Yeah. Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Was it not in Georgia last year?
Convenient, isn't it?
Bruh. You shouldn't have told me that. That SEC bias is the stuff that kind of bugs me.
I just ruined your day. By the way, that stadium's in Atlanta, but that's a damn home game for Georgia.
Yeah. Yes, that's crazy. So, but talking about the group of 5, I mean, North Texas is probably going to be the front runner, like you just mentioned. I think the only team that would maybe have a chance, and that would North Texas controls the destiny of them going.
The AAC, I think, controls the. Yeah, go ahead.
You would be Navy, you think?
Well, I was going to say Tulane or Navy. I know there's people that like James Madison. I just don't think I just think their resume's held together by a 14-point loss to Louisville and nothing else.
You're not wrong, because the Sun Belt Conference is not very good. They haven't played Coastal Carolina yet, who will be their last game of the season, but they're 6-4. So the best team in the Sun Belt is Southern Miss, and I don't even know. Did James Madison even play Southern Miss? They didn't even play Southern Miss.
They'll play him in the conference title game.
So they haven't played him yet, but so it's probably running through the AAC, which will either end up being Navy or North Texas, and Tulane has a chance in there. I don't know. I think North Texas has, if any of these teams are going into a away game and having a chance to win, I think it's North Texas.
I think it would be awesome if somehow we get a college football playoff bracket portion. North Texas at Texas Tech, winner plays Texas A&M. Just a little in-state tournament right there. I think that would be fantastic.
I've always said, though, I think it would be really fun to watch like Navy and that offense go into like, I don't even know, like who would be a chance to get the 5 seed, like Alabama
Texas Tech
or Texas Tech.
Bama,
now Texas Tech's offense is shutting that, or Texas Tech defense is shutting that down.
Distracted Ole Miss.
Exactly. Imagine Navy going into freaking Ole Miss and playing that team with that offense and just saying, okay, Lane Kiffin, you're going to probably touch the ball 6 times this game. We're going to go for 250 rushing yards and have 40 minutes of possession. Like, I've always thought it would be interesting to see like a Navy go in and do something like that, but North Texas probably has the best chance of pulling off an upset if any of them do.
I love it. Let's transition to the Heisman Trophy. We can stay on our favorite real quick. We've got the same guy. It's Fernando Mendoza. He's off this week. He should light up Purdue in the last week of the season. I think the only other guy that's truly in it is Julian Sayin. He's got 2 games left. He's got a game against Michigan, which is going to be a ranked game. If he lights them up, that'll be a big deal. Votes come in after the Big Ten championship. So I will say if it's remotely close and Ohio State puts a beat down on Indiana, I think a lot of people will switch their votes towards Julian Sayin. But right now, I think Fernando Mendoza is the front runner. He's got 10 more total touchdowns than Julian Sayin. So I think that one's short and sweet. Mendoza should be everybody's leader right now.
Yeah, he's my leader too. And if you look at it, it's hard because I get how Heisman voting goes. But for me, I look at who's had the biggest impact on their team. Julian Sayin has been great, but he got Carnell Tate.
Yeah.
He has Jeremiah Smith. Fernando Mendoza has Elijah Surratt, which is going to be a really good receiver in the NFL. And he's been great, at Indiana, but he doesn't have the weapons around him. And what were the expectations for Ohio State compared to Indiana coming in? Some people, I was one of them. I was like, man, I don't know if I believe in Indiana's hype again. Like, I don't think they can replicate what they did last year. Well, Fernando Mendoza comes from Cal, and he's like, yeah, well, we're going to be better than last year. And so I think he's the front runner there. I actually have same thing, Marcel Reed, even though he did not have the best game in the first half last year. I think him and Julian Sayin are pretty close for the next, tier of who would even pass Fernando Mendoza. But same thing with Marcel Reed. Like that offense, what he's done, he's a true dual threat quarterback that can run or pass it and stuff. And that seems to get a lot of people's votes because he'll have some big numbers there. So Marcel Reed, I don't think he has a chance at winning it. I totally 100% agree with you. Fernando Mendoza, Julian Sayin look like the 2 guys that are going to be. Ty Simpson for a minute there. But
then they lost. Yeah.
They lost, and they realized, holy crap, when you stop the run and he has to do it all, maybe he's not as good. So Ty Simpson had a chance there for a minute, but it probably, that door closed.
Hopefully they get Jeremiah Love to New York. At least.
Let me ask you, Jeremiah Love or Jacob Rodriguez, they can only get one in New York. Who is it?
Jeremiah Love. Jacob Rodriguez sells the
backer there.
Jeremiah Love should be in New York. But
get the backer there.
Jacob Rodriguez is awesome. It's very fun. I just hated the criticism that some people gave them when they put him in at quarterback. It's like, listen, Fernando Mendoza and these guys, they get to play Old Dominion and, Florida A&M and Indiana State or whatever they do for 3 games and get 12 touchdowns coming out of the gates. Jacob Rodriguez gets 14 tackles and a pick against those teams. Nobody cares. He plays half the game, and then they go to a freshman linebacker. Yeah. It's not all these things are created equal. But Jacob Rodriguez had an unbelievable season. 7 forced fumbles and 4 interceptions is incredible stuff. So props to him. But if you're asking me to pick between Jeremiah Love and Jacob Rodriguez, I'll take Jeremiah Love, who has vaulted his team with a freshman QB to a potential playoff. Now, on the topic of guys we hope could get there, Jason and I have both admitted that 2 guys aren't going to win the Heisman Trophy, but we would love for them to get there. And here, I'll have you put these 2 guys up on the screen for our YouTube audience. But you've got Diego Pavia from Vanderbilt. I've got Haynes King from Georgia Tech. Kick us off with Diego, who's had an awesome season and is number 5 on my Heisman board, while King is 7.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that he has a chance of at least making it.
So does Haynes
still in
King.
New York?
I just say New York. I don't know if they ever moved it. I think it's in New York. Haynes King, by the way, if they beat Georgia, he better go.
Yeah, exactly. Like these 2 guys both have a chance to at least make it to New York, but they're not going to there. But man, Diego Pavia, I talked about how I look at their biggest impact on the team. 2 years ago, Vanderbilt was the bottom of the SEC. And now they've beaten Alabama 1 year. They've climbed into a top 10 ranking at one point in the season, totally changed it. Diego Pavia goes from a JUCO guy, goes to New Mexico State, comes up here. he deserves to at least be in New York for what he's done for the program, for his impact, for how great he plays, how gritty he is, how tough he is. You talk about impact on a team. When they need a play, Diego Pavia makes it, whether it's running or passing. He never gets hurt. Knock on wood, hopefully, please. That could be the biggest jinx. That might be on freezing cold takes exposed, but he's just tough as nails. He does whatever the team needs him. If he needs to get 4 yards, he somehow gets 4.5. Like he always is making the play that Vanderbilt needs. And he's put him at least relevant. Will they make it to the college football playoff? Probably a long shot right now, but he's made Vanderbilt relevant. And, maybe it changes, the outlook of the program for the next 10 years because of what he's done and how well he's been received as a player for them. So I'd love to see him just get there, have a chance, because he deserves it for, all the grinding and all the good things that he's did. He deserves it.
He's come a long way. He's big time. He's sued the NCAA, and now he might be a Heisman Trophy finalist.
Maybe that's why they won't put him in there, is because they're like, you sued us, you made us have to make a new rule, all this, like, you're done.
Yeah. I've got Haynes King up here, another guy who's accumulated right around 3,000 yards this year, over 70% completion percentage, 24 total touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's put Georgia Tech on his back, could lead them to a playoff berth in his 6th and final, I think, season of college football. Haynes King, absolutely monstrous this year, carrying Georgia Tech, much like Pavia is carrying Vanderbilt. So these two guys, I think, just both very fun football players. Their football teams would not be anywhere close to where they are without them. Just unfortunately don't exactly play for the type of team that Fernando Mendoza does. And the way that they're chasing down the number 1 overall seed if they can win a Big Ten championship and remain undefeated. These two guys are a little bit further down the rankings, but they're no slouches. That's why we had to shout them out. Jace, anything else before we wrap it up?
Let me just say one more honorable mention, and I know you'll enjoy this one. Drew Mestemaker deserves more love than he's getting.
That's awesome.
If North Texas makes the college football playoff too, if they make it, and he already has over 3,000 yards, he has 23 touchdowns, he has a chance to end with 3,300 yards, 3,400 yards.
Does he have?
4. He's 23 to 4.
Nice.
Like,
where's he playing next year?
North Texas. Just kidding.
Not a chance.
I don't know, man. Talk about a climb with Diego Pavia.
The biggest portal lock. Maybe he'll go to Arizona State.
Oh, that wouldn't be a bad idea with Levitt.
Give me your 30-second take on that BS. That's one of the grossest. There's no diss to these kids getting their bag. That's one of the grossest headlines I've ever read, that a 20-year-old's camp is shopping around and likely leaving Arizona State after your head coach just verbally recommitted or whatever these coaches have to do now.
Do you think it's going to turn into a Nico Iamaleava situation
where Sam Levitt ends up at where's he from?
Yeah, maybe.
California?
I don't know if he ends up at a school that his camp thinks he
How
should.
desired is he? I don't think his value is anywhere close to what it was.
Not what it was last year. Heck no. And that's what I'm saying. Like, is he going to end up in the Nico Iamaleava
before
situation?
Every play, still can't stay healthy. Yeah. Now he's only got 1 year left before he's draft eligible. Well, he's draft eligible already, but 1 more year. Where's he from, Sam Levitt? I don't want to just say California because he's got a blonde, messy hairdo.
I mean, he had a brother that played at Utah State. He's from Oregon. West Linn, Oregon.
There's no way he would go to Oregon State, right? Because I think Dante Moore comes back, but
no, I don't think he goes there. He's not going to Washington because UW has DeMond Williams.
He won't go to.
He won't go to
Wazoo and Oregon State are not destinations.
No.
He could go to a school in Cali. Whoever. I don't know. Cal's got a better quarterback.
Cal has JKS. UCLA has Nico.
Is Maiyava out of eligibility?
Well, Maiyava probably gets drafted.
Yeah.
Maybe SC?
That's an upgrade.
Yeah. I see. So here's my 30-second rant you asked for. Yeah. This is the part of the portal that sucks. He started at Michigan State. He went with Kenny Dillingham. They made the college football playoff. he has injuries and a little bit of a down year, and now he's thinking he can get out. Like, that's the part of the portal that sucks. Stay at Arizona State, be a legend, make one more push, stay with the guy that was loyal to you. I that's the part of the portal I do not like. And especially, like you said, the camp is shopping him. I hate that camp thing. Like, that is so stupid for a 20-year-old kid. If he can go, let him go. But don't put it out there like, hey, the camp shopping him, because that's exactly what happened with Nico. Hey, his dad or his camp or whatever, and that has not ended up well for him. I mean, they won a couple games, but
that's why we do a podcast together. That's fantastic. I'm over the camp.
It's so frustrating.
But well, that's how we'll wrap it. That's it. We'll go with that. For Jace Campbell, I'm Max Showstack. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you in another episode of Stock Watch or an NFL episode. Stay tuned. Peace.